Hunter x Hunter's Succession Contest arc continues with chapter 381. We pick up from where last chapter left off all those months ago, with Fugetsu having infiltrated the room of Prince Kacho, and having been found out after that event, is being interrogated by Mazistrom of the Zodiac and of the Hunter organization or Zorganation, what's that? Up on tier 3. One of Mazistrom's men comments that the 11th prince is indeed not in her room, noting that this is indeed Fugetsu, and apparently from the security footage, the prince did not go through any of the known corridors. Mazistrom starts to ask the prince and inquires as to what had happened. However, the prince says that she will only speak with Prince Kacho. Mazistrom reminds Fugetsu that any communication between the princes is forbidden outside of any kind of banquets and group meetings and the such, where everyone can be involved. He tries his best to reassure Fugetsu that he is only there to help out the two of them and to keep things from being worse than they already are. Melody, meanwhile, receives a phone call from one of Mazistrom's men, and confirms the suspicions about Fugetsu's guardian spirit beast, which has some form of teleportation ability. And apparently there will be a watch placed on Prince Kacho, just in case something might be going on with them. The caller warns that should they try to escape, there will be repercussions. Meanwhile, it's said that Kenny will head the mission with Melody to support him, keeping the two princes from escaping. I still do not understand why two females are noted as princes, but gender equality and all that good stuff, I guess. So it's just odd in the context of everything going on here. It seems more typical to call them princesses, but that's not besides the point. Melody relays the information to Kini, and the two make up a decision about what they have to do from here on out. Mazistrom, meanwhile, escorts Fugetsu back to her place of residence. And during this escorting, Fugetsu kind of relates the power of her guardian spirit beast to a childhood game she used to play with her sister. Meanwhile, the queen is just happy to have her daughter back. One of the people from Kakian's group informs them that they managed to spare the prince from confinement. However, Fugetsu will be under monitoring surveillance for 72 hours and will only be lifted temporarily for the banquet on Sunday. And it even goes on to note that any communication with Prince Kacho will be made more difficult. Fugetsu ends up agreeing and makes a small decision to herself to practice until the time of the banquet. Melody performs a requiem for the queen, while Kacho goes about reading a book nearby. After Melody's performance, the queen compliments her playing and even goes on to say that she should perform during the banquet. Melody denies this, saying that it's not so much fitting for an event like that, and she will come up with something different. and the queen is just happy that the hunters seem to have more use than just guarding and so on and so forth. As the supervisor takes his leave, he compliments Melody's prowess, and says that with the power that Melody seems to hold within her, she may very well be able to guard the prince. He also notes that Melody should call him should anything happen, but also reminds him that the princess will have records of any telephone calls they have going on. He also suggests to make excuses as to why any call might be happening, just because it'll give him more leniency to having them interact with each other. He says he wants to help Melody and the prince as much as possible, and even possibly change the mind of King Nasubi in terms of the contest. Melody examines his heartbeat and finds that he is calm and precise about what he is speaking, but also notes the possibility that he is being manipulated by a Nen user, and that the fact that they are now going to be targets for a variety of people with a variety of abilities. Meanwhile, in the room of Prince Sail Sail, Rihan of Kakian's forces is being talked to death by Kurabe about his feelings towards Prince Sail Sail, saying how he is such a great man and his prowess and all that. This comes from Sail Sail's guardian spirit, and Rihan creates his own Nen beast in order to devour the small Nen beast that forms above Kurobe's head. This comes from ingesting the smoke of Prince Sail Sail's own Nen beast for 70 hours, which causes him, whoever has been inhaling it, to have their own Nen beast, which spreads and seeps forward Prince Sail Sail's influence and how people see him. Rihan doesn't want this power to be out there in the world, as it would cause nothing but, a dictatorship should he be allowed to spread his influence and power. So Rihan has his Nen beast consume Prince Sail Sail's guardian spirit beast, and for the next 48 hours, Rihan will be unable to use his Nen. He uses this opportunity to switch out with Yushohi, who has the ability of assassination with his Nen powers. Yushohi reports to Rihan that the fact of Fugetsu's teleportation ability, and since they are now able to know what Fugetsu's ability is, she will be a little bit more easy to take down in the future. Because, in a Nen battle, the more information you have about your opponent, the easier it'll be to actually take them down. He notes that he was able to successfully attach his Nen ability Stinger Ball to Prince Fugetsu, which will make it all the more easy to take her out later down the line. He is also on the lookout for any other assassins who might be looking to take down his employer, much like how Tufede was taken down. We also get at the end of a chapter an announcement that the stowaway who had been staking out in the ship has been captured, ultimately lifting the curfew. Now, in regards to what is actually going on to the throughout the chapter, I must admit I am a bit at a loss for certain things, because I do remember the whole events of Fugetsu and her wanting to badly, very, very badly, go and see the, her sister ultimately, the close bond that they ultimately have. But, in terms of what is going on at large, I don't quite remember what the situation with the stowaway and how the curfew came into effect. I don't quite remember some of the names of the princes. It's just like it's so sporadic, and that's the ultimate downfall in actually trying to read this piecemeal. It's just like certain bits and pieces kind of get lost in the shuffle. This is still fairly intriguing, but you know, characters like Fugetsu and even Kacho, you know, it's hard to say if they're going to make it through all of this. It would be nice if they did, because they didn't ask for this life. They didn't want to go through any of this, but it was thrust upon them by their father, the pig bastard that he is, honestly. But with the fact that, you have Prince like Kakin, who is a little bit more direct and is just going through everything he can in order to win this, it just feels unnecessary in a lot of places. Because it's not a it feels like an unnecessary fight for survival. With in terms of the Chimera ants, their whole thing was eating humans. That was their ultimate nature, and a lot of them ultimately in the end had to fight against that nature in order to coexist with humans in the end. However, when it comes to this, it feels like these people should have been given a little bit more of a choice. But if I remember correctly, should they escape, they'll be hunted and eliminated if they were to do that. So it's just like you have no choice in this situation, and it feels, I don't much care for that in the end. I am interested in seeing the various other guardian spirit beasts that the various princes have. I ultimately wonder, where it will all lead in the end, because it's like we're going to a place where Beyond Netero, is located, or if I remember correctly, yes, Beyond Netero is supposed to be involved in this in some way, shape, or form, but he hasn't really played that much of a prominent point up into this moment. And hell, even the cover page for this chapter in general kind of notes the fact that, Leo Rio hasn't been involved in that much in this, even though he is part of the Zodiac this time around. The Zodiac in general hasn't really been that involved, except for Mazistrom, but that's because he's really heading up a lot of the security. So he's very much in the thick of everything. But Leo Rio hasn't been involved. We've seen a lot of interaction for Kurapika, but that only goes so far ultimately. And with this fact that we've kind of pushed his story aside to kind of focus a little bit on the situation going on with Melody and Cacho, it's just kind of like so many focuses spread out with the hiatuses and stuff like that. This is definitely going to be a story arc that I have to go back and reread from start to finish, and hopefully even gets an anime adaptation once it's done with. I was kind of worried that public consciousness about Hunter x Hunter will kind of start to fade, but with the introduction of the new upcoming Greed Island 2 game, it'll hopefully get people rereading, and hopefully, because it's very obvious that the author has gotten a little bit of help from some assistance here and there, at least in terms of some background detail or certain moments, but whether or not he'll finally kind of get a little bit more help in order to help him press forward this story is anyone's guess. But tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. Please feel free to tell me what I'm kind of forgetting at this point, because I'm pretty sure it's a lot. Like, I don't have the time to keep going back and rereading in order to refresh myself when we only get like maybe 5 to 10 chapters at a time. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave me a like and subscribe for more chapters of Hunter x Hunter whenever we may get them.